the objective for today is going to be to distinguish between situations that are linear, quadratic, or exponential. If you want to write out the full words, you can. I'm just lazy. So I'm giving us some hint words that we use when we see word problems that usually lead us towards this is a linear word problem, this is a quadratic word problem, this is an exponential word problem. These aren't all of the words, but these are the most common that you will see. If you'll remember, linear is either adding or subtracting the same amount each time. So if you see words that mean add or subtract, that's usually a pretty good hint that it's linear. Along those same lines, if you see the words increase or decrease, and it's by the same amount each time, those are also good words. These guys also have a constant rate of change. A lot of times you will also see slope, or a lot of times you'll see maybe the word per. So example, $2 per mile is telling you that the slope would be 2. Quadratic is a little bit weirder. Quadratic, it's adding or subtracting the same amount the second time down. So these usually have situations. Sorry, so as I said, these are going to be situations. So at quadratics, if you'll remember, they look like this or like this. They're kind of U-shapes. So a lot of times we'll see these in word problems where we're talking about jumping, right? Because it has that go up and then come back down motion. Anything where it's going to go up and come down, or the opposite, go down and come up. Those situations are usually quadratic. Or anything to do with gravity tends to also be quadratic. Anything that kind of follows that motion would be quadratic. Exponential is, if you'll remember, these are multiplying or dividing patterns. So anything where it is increasing by a certain percentage, because percentages are multiplying or dividing, or I'm sorry, they're multiplying. Along those same words, we have a lot of words that mean multiply by a specific thing. So for example, half is a word that means you're dividing by 2 each time. A lot of times you'll also see things like double, meaning you multiply by 2, or triple. Quadruple, all of those words that mean multiplying. These also come a lot in interest problems. And when I say interest, I mean like money interest. For example, putting your money in a bank account that earns 5% interest. That actually has 2 of these words. It's a percentage and it's talking about money interest. Again, these aren't all of the words, but these are the big ones that if you see one of these hint words, it kind of tells you which situation you're dealing with. So down here, this just says determine whether each of these problems describes a linear, quadratic, or exponential situation. So we're not writing the equation, we're not doing anything like that, we're just trying to figure out which one it would be. The first one says you are trying to dunk a basketball, you need to jump 2.5 feet in the air to dunk the ball. Now, I don't see anything that has any of our linear words. I do see the word jump. And if you'll remember, jumping implies this kind of motion. That is a quadratic. And I'm going to put the word jump in here. The second problem says, in 1985, there were 285 cell phone subscribers in the small town of Centerville. The number of subscribers increased by 75% each year after 1985. This actually has 2 words in here. It has the word increased, which usually means linear, but it also has this guy right here, 75%. A percent is always an exponential function, because it means we need to multiply by 0.75 each time. The third problem says you drink a beverage with 120 milligrams of caffeine. Each hour, the caffeine in your system decreases by about 12 milligrams. This guy is linear. This word right here, decreases. I know decreases and increases sometimes show up in exponential functions, but this one doesn't have percentages. It decreases by 12 milligrams each time. I'm subtracting 12 every single time. The fourth one says one of the games at a carnival involves trying to ring a bell with a ball by hitting a lever that propels the ball into the air. You want to write an equation for the height of the ball. I don't really see any hint words in here, but I'm going to think about what the motion is that we're looking at. If you think about it, it's one of these guys. The ball starts down here, you hit this little lever, and the ball goes going up, and then it comes back down, and maybe it'll hit the bell at the top, maybe not. If I look at that looks most like a quadratic equation. Even though there isn't a specific hint word, we know that it's going up and coming back down. So it's important to actually think about what these questions are asking you. The very last one says you inherited land that was purchased for $30,000 in 1960. The value of the land increased by 5% each year. Take just a second to think about which one you would put that in. Is it linear, is it exponential, or is it quadratic? This one is exponential. Again, it has two hint words. It does have the word increased, which usually leans a little bit more linear, but because it's increasing by a percentage each year, that means it has to be exponential.